I'm Janalee Meeker, and Lindsay calls over here in the corner. Lindsay's my aim, and I'm a teaching group leader, and these are 6 of my 10 teaching group instructors. And so we were so lucky to have so many of them come and wanted to utilize their great knowledge and insights. And so, so we're just going to talk. It's going to be informal, and we just want to get a lot of good ideas about teaching online. And so so we had a little introduction, but I think instead what might be more effective is to have each of you just go through and tell us what you teach, how long you've been teaching, and maybe just a little, they had each sent me a little something that they love about teaching at BYU-Idaho. So will you just start, Amanda, and we'll just go through and do it that way.
So my name's Amanda Buswell, and I've been teaching for 2.5 years. And I teach Family 445, which is the family practicum class. And my favorite part of teaching is that I get to teach these seniors, and we really focus on helping them become professionals and getting ready to go out into the workplace or express themselves in careers however they choose to. So that's what I really enjoy about what I do.
So my name is Anne Celeste Openshaw, and I have been teaching for almost about the same time, about 2.5 years. I also teach 445, the practicum class, and yeah, my quote's up now. So I love this quote because, especially in application to the course that we teach, I really think it's important to let them, I mean, they're in this little incubator of a class, and they're not professionals yet, but they have the opportunity to grow and develop within it so that when they get out, they can work. So.
I'm Heather Lake, and I teach Family 460 with Janalee Meeker and another Heather, so it's 2 Heathers. And Janalee's original question was, to me, was, what do you like most about teaching online or teaching for BYU-Idaho? And I really thought that the first thing that came to my mind was my family. I mean, I'm doing this so I can be at home for my kids, and I can be a stay-at-home mom, I can volunteer in their classrooms, and I can put my family first. And I'm Relief Society president too, and when I was set apart as Relief Society president, the bishop said that I needed to put my family first. And so this is a way that I can get intellectual stimulation when the kids are busy playing, and I can also be there for them. So it's the best of all the worlds for me.
I'm Lori Morton. I've been teaching for BYU-Idaho for 3 years now. I teach Family Life 430, which is family and community relationships. So many things I love about BYU-Idaho, but I really like the way that, especially our course implements the teaching learning model. We have 2 discussion groups, and I just adore it. And I love that while I'm able to teach, I'm also learning from my students, and I think that's one of the great things about BYU-Idaho.
I'm Brother Jason Tonks, and I traveled all the way out from Missouri, being able to work with BYU through Missouri is relatively new. And as soon as I found out that the opportunity was available, I jumped on it as quick as I could, because that's something that I have a huge desire to do. And I teach the Family 430 course along with Lori. And one of the things that I absolutely love about the course is the discussion boards. And we also have a semester-long project that we do that's called our Lift Others project, which is service-based in the communities that they can tie into the course objectives. And I love hearing about all the experiences that they have in those different places that they're doing their service projects, and being able to hear about the connections that they're making between the course content and the experiences that they're having with the people that they're working with. And it kind of blows my mind away to see how they can make those connections and how they can tie in the gospel perspectives in there. A quote that I have up here is that I really enjoy with my therapy clients that I work with, and I kind of have a personal connection with this, is from the Dalai Lama, which that reads that our prime purpose in this life is to help others, and if you can't help them, at least don't hurt them. And that's a quote that I absolutely love, and so I thoroughly enjoy
I'm Jenny Dilworth, and I've been teaching for BYU-I for a year now, and I've been teaching college students for about 20 years. I'm really excited to be able to teach in family studies again. The majority of my career I taught family studies courses, but now in my day job I'm back to teaching psychology. And although there's a lot of overlap between psychology and family studies, and I was an undergraduate major in psychology, and after my undergrad, when I discovered family studies, I was so excited because I thought, I can't think of anything else I'd rather teach people about than families. So it certainly integrates so perfectly with the gospel and with our focus on having eternal families. So I've never had any problem selling this topic to students before because it's so important. And in the course that I teach, in particular the family practicum, it's really exciting to see the students because this is a very hard course. And they definitely give a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in getting through the course. But it's so exciting to see them when they come out on the other end and they've completed all the assignments and they've done their life teaching, and to see how inspired they are because they realize teaching is so interesting as well as fulfilling to them, and to be able to teach about families in particular is so wonderful. And so it's great to see the outcome, and I always promise them early in the semester when they're complaining and they're worried, it's like, wait till the end. You're going to have so much confidence and feel so great about what you've done and what you're going to be able to do after going through that course. So
good. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. So we have a lot of good experience here, life experience and teaching experience. I'm curious, now that we've all introduced ourselves, we're all home and family department teachers. So what other fields do we have here? We have sociology. What other classes do you teach?
Nursing.
Nursing.
Halfway math.
Math and medical terminology. Okay.
Halfway math.
Pathway math and
Halfway.
pathway. Good. And
Life skills.
okay, good.
I'm a librarian. I teach library skills.
Library. Okay, good.
I teach nutrition.
Nutrition. Okay. Well, great. So a lot of these people all teach family, but we're all online instructors, and I think a lot of what we'll talk about today will impact all this. So we want to start. What we've pulled is from a brown bag seminar that happened about a year ago with some students. And so we pulled just a few little clips from students. I was in 1, 2, 3, 4 order. So we pulled just a few little clips from students, and then we're going to talk about it. So I've got just a 1-minute clip that we're going to talk about and think about engaging our students in their learning. So we'll listen to that first. Hopefully we have audio. I can just drag that.
How does your experience in your online classroom measure up against your experience in traditional classrooms? Good, bad, ugly, wonderful. Give us all the details of things that how they compare. Obviously, they're different modalities. We recognize that. There are going to be different strengths and different experiences of both. We don't expect one necessarily to be better than the other. It's not necessarily what we're getting at. But give us a bit of a comparison of what worked for you, what didn't, and how we can improve that way. We'll start with let's see, Eric's good at the end of there.
Hang on, let me pause this because this is what I want to get to.
Trying to help.
Okay, thank you, Joel. So they're talking about the difference between campus, classroom, and online. And so these are online students. He's asking them what is the difference for you. Did we get the sound turned up? Was the volume up? Okay. All right, so this is the student response.
I can't see it.
I've had the opportunity to study both in traditional classroom or university classroom and now in the online classrooms. And I would have to say I love online classrooms. Even more than traditional classrooms, when the teacher is able to get involved with the students in the class. Because...
Okay, so he said, I love online classrooms even more than traditional classrooms when the teacher is able to get involved with the students. So I thought that was interesting that he said when the teacher's able to get involved. So that's what I want to talk about amongst our panelists and amongst our class. What are some of the ways that you get involved with your students in the class?
Well, one really unique thing that we do is we do consultations once a semester. And so we meet with each either partnership or single student, and we meet with them about how their project is going and what challenges they're having. And what we find is that it really clarifies a lot of concerns that they haven't even talked to us about. Often they won't bring them up, but then when we meet with them, and I would say at least 50% of the time they say, I'm so relieved after talking to you. You know, I was so worried about these things and I'm so relieved now. And I realize in classes where you have a bigger class group that may not be possible, but that's been really, really effective for our class.
So maybe, so in our 445 class, they have consultations, but office hours is another way that you can connect with your students. Do any of you use office hours to, how's that working for you in engaging your students in the course?
So I use my office hours as exam review sessions, and so I say I get anywhere from like 7 to 12 students coming, depending on the size of the class. And it's great because they actually ask questions, and we can talk about a concept, which we could do in email, like multiple emails, but it's great to just be able to talk about it right then and clarify it right then.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Any other insights on engaging students?
So I mentioned earlier that our course has 2 different discussion boards each week, and I've noticed over the years of teaching the same course that, and I think we all have that, a lot of students have kind of a discussion board anxiety a little bit, especially if it's their first time in an online course. And one of the things that we study in our course are the different methods of socialization when we're learning. And we have a discussion board question, which is, what do you think is the most effective or most powerful way that you learn, or method of socialization when you're learning? And across the board, every single semester, the answer is modeling. That modeling is the most effective. And I've noticed that across the board when I'm trying to get students involved, that as an instructor, if I'm modeling what I want in those discussion boards, if I'm modeling what I want for my students in assignments, then I'm going to see a lot more of that. It's funny, you know, in those weeks when you're really, really busy and you kind of have to phone in a little bit on those discussion boards, and I might just write, oh, thank you for sharing, this was a great resource. I notice that immediately my students start to follow suit, and their posts are just, oh, thank you for sharing, that was a great post. And so as I'm modeling what I want and I'm modeling that involvement, I'm going to get that back from my students.
I'm curious if there's anything in either 3 that you feel has helped your ability to engage with your students. Give us some hope for those of us who haven't transitioned yet.
I was thinking yesterday, I haven't tried this yet, but I think I'm going to set a goal for next semester to use the video note in the discussion board. And I think I might even open it for my students and give them an opportunity to either write their response or video their response or audio their response, so it's more like a conversation. But I'm envisioning that I could go through a discussion board, this group, and then say, this is what I'm seeing, what do you think about this? And then they can come back and respond, but seeing your face, I'm excited about using that. I haven't tried it yet.
I just want to jump in because I've been converted to audio feedback in Island 3. I've used audio feedback before, but I was always using external things, so I was having to copy, paste, put it in. And it didn't have a time limit, so I tended to go on and on. But I found with the audio feedback in there, it's 1 minute. And so I can, you know, kind of shoot something out to them. And if I need to do more, I can do a second audio feedback. So I've gone up to like 3 minutes. But it helps me to be concise, but also for them to feel like my encouragement with the correction. I think that really comes through better in my voice than it does when I'm typing, because then they just hear the correction.
Right.
So.
Anyone else? Island 3? Yeah.
So this is my 3rd class in Island 3, and I realized that even by default, half of the students won't have taken Island 3. It's going to be their first time. So I make a weekly instructional video that has how to, like in the beginning, the first lesson 1, it's more how to access the discussion boards and simple things like that. And then I get into more tips and tricks that I've discovered. So each week I'm making an instructional video, and I have a Mac, so I purchased a program called Screening Free, and then I download that to the Kaltura player, and then I just put the link, or I can embed it in my announcements pages. But they get a message from me each week, so I don't have really pictures of me on there. I just have the screen and the class and how to navigate it. But I've had students say that is more helpful than the iLearn tour. I guess it just has more advanced tips, but I don't do that until lesson 3 or 4. But it also integrates our class and how to get through the week, each week.
Yeah, so he's course specific too, then that's probably helpful to them. Good, yeah, thanks, Jenny.
Well, I think it's really nice that you don't have to have separate notes from instructor and then announcements on top of that. Like in Brain Honey, it's just all in one place, so that saves time.
Yeah, something that I just learned in the previous course I was just in, but there's actually an instant messaging feature on iLearn 3 that I didn't know about. So your students can see when you're online, and they can actually, if they're online too, they can send you a quick instant message, which is something I didn't know, but I think would really help.
What do you see that? Does it come up? I mean, where do you see it? It's called a pager, so it's in your, like, if you see the 3 like notifications, discussion boards, and then the first one is the pager.
It's a little icon. I think you have to enable
just a little icon.
So it will work.
Okay, go ahead, Lindsay. We're going to talk about.
It's going to soon change to Messenger, just FYI.
Oh, okay.
It's currently a pager and will change.
Do you want me just to play the next clip?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So then we're just going to hear from another student what his kind of takeaway was about what he wants from his instructors.
No, I'm totally ready. So I guess my final thoughts about what could be done as a course instructor to make this a little bit better for us is kind of there's 3 aspects I think to this, and that's to help us, to challenge us, and to praise us. So
So we've kind of talked about help a little bit, and I like what Heather said, like making specific tutorials through her course. That's a big help, I think, for students, especially during this transition. But any other thoughts on kind of help methods that you give to your students?
Well, this is not a new and exciting method. It's just replying to email.
That's a big help.
I think it's so important because students can't come to our office and talk to us or call us up, very easily. It's so important for us to really check our email and respond to them and let them know up front, I'm going to check my email these days a week. I think it's supposed to be at least 5 days a week. And like I say, I check email every day except Sunday. So if you send me something on Sunday, I'm not going to get it till Monday. But to let them know we will be checking email and that we're going to respond right away to it. I'm always surprised when I get an email from a student saying, thank you for responding so quickly to my email. And it may have been 8 hours after they sent it, and they think that's fast. And I think, my goodness, what are they getting with other courses, And having talked to my son, he's a current BYU-I student, and most of his classes are face-to-face, but he's taken a few online classes. But sometimes, I've heard from him that he'll email his online instructor about something, and it's 3 days before he gets a response. And so I think it's so important for us, something so basic, and it's so easy and fast to send an email. And even if they're asking you a question and you don't have time right then to look it up or investigate it, just send it back. I'll be checking on that and I'll get back to you about it right, as soon as I can. Just so they know that we're getting the email, because you always wonder when you send an email, there's no reply. Maybe it didn't go through, And now their assignment's due. Now what are they going to do? And in our class especially, because they have a lot of kind of unusual assignments that are different from things they've done before, they often get a little nervous about, am I doing this the right way? And so they need to know that we're going to right away, that day, read that email and respond to them. So.
We don't hammer these like expectations in the weekly reflections like we used to, but it used to have a question every week. Do you respond to email within 24 hours? So that is the expectation. And in the role that I have, I get to look at a lot of instructors' evaluations, and one of the fastest ways to get your evaluations to go down is to not respond to email. I see that a lot with instructors that are struggling. Any other out here or up here, like specific helps?
So mine's along the lines of the technology, especially in the Island 3 transition. But as students, a lot of times you'll get an email from a student and it's something that only the BYU Online Help Desk can help them with. And so it's really easy as an online instructor to say, okay, we'll just contact the BYU Online Help Desk and then let me know if there's any problems. If you have a student that's particularly frustrated, I think it really helps to actually walk along the process with them. So I will say, you need to contact them, I will contact them. And so I will contact them as well and say, I have a student who's experiencing this. And sometimes they've even been able to get us on the same ticket. And so we can walk through the problem together. And I think that shows the student not only that you care, but it's also very helpful to them. And then it's helpful to you because you're able to learn something new about the system. And then if it comes up again, you can.
That's an extra mile thing. I have not done
that. Yeah, it can take a lot of time, so
yeah, but
we do it all.
Good on you for doing that. He also talked about challenging, and I love that he put challenge before praise, because for me, I think praise is hollow if they haven't been challenged. They're going to feel better about praise if they know we've challenged them. So how do you guys challenge your students?
I think in our course, and I was thinking about this last hour, I think it's very easy for online courses to become checking off boxes and jumping through the hoops and just completing the weekly assignments so that you're done, and it shows a nice like 100% complete on everything. And our course really differentiates between acting and being acted upon. And in our course, if you're meeting minimum expectations, then you are capping out at about a B+. You're meeting the expectations, you're posting your 2 responses to your discussion board, and but that's only going to take you so far in our course. You really have to be engaged. You really have to be learning at a high level and acting for yourself, and not just being acted upon and just doing the minimum requirements for the course. So I think that's a big challenge.
In general, too, on top of that, and not just like our course specific, but that's not something that I felt strongly about in my life is like, everyone kind of resents the challenge at first, but then how many of us are so grateful after? And I can think of so many times in my life, ecclesiastically or, academically or socially, all these things where I've grown. And then I actually had a conversation with a Pathway student who works in my department at my full-time job. And he was telling me about this religion class that he was taking through Pathway. And he said that he kind of just phoned in this assignment. And then instructor's like, okay, this was the first one. Because you did this, I'm going to give you this A, but next time never do this again. You got to put some more thought into it. And he's like, and then a couple things happened and it was a really bad week. And so I phoned it in again. And he's like, he gave me an A. And he's like, he didn't call me on it. He said, I actually got really mad because he said he was going to do this and then he didn't. And I think that his positive attitude is maybe a little bit atypical. However, the message is still the same. I think they actually enjoy really being challenged students. So I thought that was a good example.
I think a pretty simple one, but an interesting thing to do, specifically with discussion boards, is instead of having them text out a response and that's just it, is say, okay, so you have this question prompt. Now find a picture and plug it in, and then rationalize why you think that this picture demonstrates whatever your response to the prompt is. That's not changing the context of the assignment. It's adding an element to it to breach different learning modalities, and also challenges them, and it could potentially challenge them with the tech, so they can learn the system a little better.
Yeah, I like that idea. I'm a big growth mindset person. Most everyone knows that. But I try to embed that from the very beginning. My first email, they know that I'm all about the growth mindset and that we need to challenge ourselves. So on their semester assignments, when they have to give me a proposal, I say, have you done this before for another class? Is this going to challenge you? Is this the same type of assignment that you've done in every other, because in family studies, they do have some similar assignments from classes. So I ask them, have you done this for every other class? If you have, I want you to step out of your comfort zone, because that's where you're going to get better at something. So that's one of the things that I try to do.
I noticed that I used to sometimes be kind of soft at the beginning of the semester, and I'd raise my expectations a little bit. Okay, now we're into it, you should understand better how to respond deeper in the discussion boards. But then I realized it makes students mad when they've been getting full credit and now all of a sudden I'm giving points off. So I decided to keep the bar high at the beginning, and it seems to be more successful.
I like that. It's challenging time-wise, isn't it, to keep that standard throughout? Did you, Joel, have something? Or
Probably I'm not great at it, but I've just had some TGLs and colleagues that have been really good about it in my teaching groups. That don't let people get away with the response, just the first and last response to something. And let's see, so they'll ask that follow-up question and expect the answer, and they just kind of have that expectation. So their discussion boards are just a lot richer than my discussions, and I kind of saw that as something I wanted to work on. Is not just reading, but get back in there and say, or how is that different than Susie up above?
Yeah. One of the ways I challenge my students, and this is now that I have a little more teaching experience, but early on, like when I would have students years ago, and I'd have them turn in a paper, and I would feel the need to point out every single grammatical error, every place where they didn't have the right punctuation, and give it back to them so that they didn't ever have to figure it out on their own. And so I've learned, to say, well, you have grammatical errors in this paper, and I don't tell them what to fix or where to fix it. And the same thing with like APA format, students really, really struggle with it. AP is hard. I didn't learn to figure it out until I was in graduate school. And even though I give them a handout that tells them, how to put different types of sources in the APA format, when they inevitably turn in something and their APA format's wrong, I don't say, okay, fix this, fix this, fix this. I say, go back to that handout I gave you, figure out what you need to change. So trying to help them problem solve on their own rather than I'm going to fix it for them, and they just, like they're 5 years old.
Yeah, they have to be proactive. Yeah, Heather.
I think one of the ways to instill or to motivate and to challenge students is to just instill that high love, high expectations mindset right from the beginning, like what you're saying. And you can do that on your announcements page. Is it black and white or is it in color? Lindsay taught me about the color. And are you putting videos, motivational videos? I put a Strive video on there from moreofachannel.org and Write in a Hard Week. And that was, I thought it was motivational, but another way to challenge the students is to put lots of samples. So I know for our class, I think we need it. We need, for the Family 460 class, we need sample papers. I put sample discussion board posts. So we have maybe 5 or 6 questions on the discussion boards that they have to answer. So I thoroughly answer it, and it's there before they even have access to the discussion board. So right when they, when that week goes live, they're able to see my sample. I have to make mine really good like that, or mine's not going to be good, or I'm hoping that raises the bar a little bit as to what the expectations are, but it also gets their minds thinking. And I tell them you can have whatever thoughts or opinions you want on these questions, but I want you to think about them, and here's my thoughts.
So this is so good because we've had a lot of, I think we've had a lot of grumbling about Island 3. I haven't experienced that because I'm a few semesters in now, but Jenny has been teaching in Brightspace for a number of years. 4 years. And so she's been great for our teaching group because she's got all these apps and things that she uses. So Explain Everything is an app. And Heather mentioned another app. Maybe we should make a note. What's it called that you were saying that you use? Screenium.
It only works for Macintosh. There's another one. You'd have to look for your PC online. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and so there are apps that are developed that we can use. We have tools within Island 3, so it's great. Use those tools, definitely. Other thoughts or comments on feedback or time management?
I find that if my feedback is personalized and if I give them really good feedback, it kind of manages my time. I mean, not that it takes up all my time, it does that a little bit, but I mean, it probably takes most of my time, but I put most of my effort in feedback and discussion board, and it just really kind of seems to guide the students where I don't have to spend a lot of time clarifying or, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Like they feel that love or that
presence.
Yeah, and and it almost makes them want to do better, I think. I know for the instructors that I had that expected a lot from me and interacted with me a lot, I was much more ready to jump those hoops and perform tricks and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Jason, did you have a comment?
Yeah, one of my personal pet peeves when I was a student was the rubber stamp type feedback that just, you were done with it. And so that was one thing that I've always kind of had a personal goal of mine, would be able to tie something into what they were actually working on. And when I was in ILR 2, it was brought to my attention about having little templates and things like that, where you can go in and just click on whatever the statement is you're trying to make, and you can put that in there. And I would do something more generalized, like there's always one or two statements or words or something like that you put on everything as far as feedback goes. And then I can go through and personalize it more after that and be able to type in what I found about their assignment and that they were doing well at. And so that's something that I tried to incorporate into ILR 3 a little bit more. But I've kind of directed more of my attention towards the shiny audio and video feedback options that are available right now, and that's something that I'm really drawn to, because of the fact that I like the opportunity to be able to say to my students, hey, this assignment you did was awesome, and this is why. And with the projects that we do throughout the semester, like we were talking about the service project with others, project being able to provide that feedback form where they can kind of tell more with the vocal inflections and with the video nonverbal type of stuff about how you feel about what they're doing and what they're providing in class. Being able to do all of that, I think that just kind of takes the whole experience, not only for the instructor, but for the student, and kind of takes it to a different level. So that's something that when I found out that was something that was coming in ILR 3, started trying it out myself. It's all thumbs up and green lights going forward with that. And so the audio, video, and being able to use those templates is amazing opportunities.
I like that it's cross-discipline. We can use these tools. It doesn't matter what course. One of the instructors here that's in our group oversees an internship course for the Home and Family Department. So she has about 60 students every semester, and they don't do discussion board. They report in their journal every week on their progress in their internship. And she reads those journals, and then she'll do an audio message back to them. This is what I like. This is the question I have. This is something that you might be able to work on in your internship. And then the next week they'll come back and they'll write some more answering her questions. And it's almost like this conversation, this connection that they have with her. And I really like those tools. Thanks.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, one way when I think about managing my time is I have a couple of screencasts that explain basically all of my requirements for their discussion boards, what I'm looking for. Here's my requirements for your FPP project. But I can pair that class-wide feedback that I've given to everyone with an individual student. You're missing this element. I want you to review my screencast where I tell everything that I'm looking for, and next week look at this one element that you're missing. And so it doesn't take me a long time to give that personalized feedback because I'm referring back to something that they already have. But it also taps into that proactivity where they need to make the step to go review this. If they want to get better, they need to look at what I've already provided as a resource.
Do you want to wrap up?
Yeah. So we could talk about, we have, so much that we could talk about. Okay, so we wanted to close with something. We both really were inspired by the winter webinar this semester, so we kind of wanted to close with this, just a little snippet from this.
I have a question. So our student audience is really vast and varied, becoming more so every day. What counsel would you give to our online instructors about this wide range of students, particularly those students that many might say are underprepared?
You know, I shared this experience a couple of weeks ago in a message I gave at BYU-Idaho about helping everyday students. And about 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, I did a review of a university and its president and its faculty on behalf of the Board of Regents of that university. And it's a great university and there are great things happening there, but I heard over and over from the faculty, boy, why do we have to deal with these open enrollment students? Can't we just start raising the admission standards? And looking at that university's mission and knowing their mandate within their educational system, it was such a sad indictment on the university, because the plan was that's improve the university by screening out anyone who's not doing well. And at BYU-Idaho, if we don't do that, who else will? That is our role. That is the invitation from the board. We need to be uniquely good at helping the everyday student. And John L. Clark, the former president of Ricks College, said Ricks College was founded upon the assumption that there's extraordinary possibilities in ordinary students. That's who we are. When I received this assignment, Elder Oak said to me, don't ever apologize for being different than the rest of higher education. BYU-Idaho is different by design. We need you to be different.
Yeah, so we had probably about 3 more questions that we would love to just keep chatting about, but if you haven't watched that winter webinar, I really give a plug for it, because it really inspired me to think about those frustrations that I have with students where I'm like, they're just not quite at college level yet, you know, but they have so much inherent value as a human being. And he had a lot of great insights about the idea of how we can inspire higher functioning students, the students who are doing well, and try to turn them back to each other to help mentor the students that are struggling. So I would have loved if we had more time to talk a little bit about that and how we're doing that. But I just really put in a plug for thinking about that. How can we turn our students back to each other so that they can, you know, the higher functioning can support the ones who are struggling a little bit more. Thank you.